All right. Peace, love, and light. It's your girl Annie Mae, the Neo Soul Songstress.
And I'm out of Benjamin Blakey Fisher.
And I'm Sean. And you are watching
Florida
Love Music Talk Show. Yes, and today we have the wonderful guest on here. We have Mr. Gregg Stone, musician, songwriter. Yes. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Stone.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. And I'm really excited to be the first guest for the new year, and let's hope that 2025 is a good year. And let's get it off to a good start.
All right.
Okay? My name's Gregg Stone, and I live outside of Pittsburgh, and I've been writing off and on for about 45 years. It started, when I say off and on, there was a big off period there. I learned to play guitar at the age of 12, thanks to my mom, who was a country music singer and country music DJ back in central Pennsylvania. And I played all the way through college and wrote songs. And then as life happened and I got too busy with work, I got away from it. And then I got back to it because I found that it was cathartic for me to do this when I wasn't working. And now I'm not working because I'm retired, and now I can devote all my time and energy to this. And it's been a lot of fun, and I appreciate it very much.
Okay, sweet. So, let's see.
Tell me, what's the most important lesson you've learned in your career so far?
I think what I learned that was most important is what I learned right off the bat. When I was young, I learned from my mom to be around people and to be around all kinds of people. My mom, she came in contact with anybody who came out to the county fair, to the likes of Johnny Cash and people like that in her workings and what she had to do. And I learned because of her that you could be comfortable no matter who you were around. And I think that's carried me through, and it's still true today for me.
All right.
Okay. So what is your creative process like when you're creating a song or instrumental?
It really depends, especially with the songs that I write that are story songs that have vocals. Sometimes it starts with a melody, sometimes it starts with lyrics, a lot of times it starts with a hook. I'll come across something or just get a thought in my head to come up with a hook. And because of my original background in country music, I come up with a lot of hooks that are plays on reversing things. For example, I wrote a song called One Step Closer to Farther Away. And the only thing I wanted out of this town was me, and things like that. And I'll come up with these lines and write songs around them. Sometimes it's because I've seen a photograph that intrigued me, and I thought, I think there's a story, there's a song in that photograph or picture. And sometimes that's what does it. When it comes to the instrumental songs that I do, it's really just me playing around on the keyboard using GarageBand with my iMac at home in my home studio, and I'll just play around with some chords. Maybe it starts with my guitar. I'll play some chords on the guitar and write melodies with it around that, and then put all the instrumentation into that using GarageBand, or I have an app too called Band in a Box that's really good and not very expensive at all, that has allowed me to write music that I couldn't otherwise write, like jazz and bluegrass and things like that. So it's really broadened my venue, as it were. So.
Okay. Good, sir.
I'll say, like, for most people, art comes from experiences.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, a lot of my songs do. For better or for worse.
These are programs that you're talking about, GarageBand, right? And what do they do?
Well, GarageBand allows me to play instruments that I can't play, is the with just a simple keyboard, I can play anything from bass to drums to string quartet to having a chorus back me up on things. I can have a harp. I can have all kinds of instruments from around the world.
Yeah.
So it's a really great tool for helping me become more creative in what I do. And Band in a Box, as I said before, all that does is if I put a chord progression into the program, it'll play it using whatever genre I want it to use, whether it's bluegrass or jazz or what have you, and I can isolate instruments from things that are played back to me and mix them accordingly.
Do they also score the music for you? Or?
They will, yes. Although it's funny you bring that up. I can't read music.
That's what I bring it up.
Yeah, so yeah, it does scores, but I don't pay much attention to them because I can't read music.
The way I learned is ear is always the best.
That's right.
I'm like, I'm classically you talk, but I'm like,
yeah, I can read scores enough to get me through the first couple verses in church. When I'm trying
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, my mom could never read music either, and it was all by ear. And there's a lot of covers, old country classics. It's totally, like you said, it's all by ear.
Yeah.
And it's the same when I'm creating music too. It's all just what seems to feel right orally in the moment. So that's where I get my stuff from.
Fantastic.
Gonna be a flashback, garage band.
Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't really come into GarageBand until about 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
I've had Macs forever, and I never used GarageBand until 5 years ago, and it just opened up a whole new world.
Oh, sweet.
I'm behind though.
Now, in your opinion, what is the most important strength or personality trait someone would need to be successful in your endeavors?
I think confidence in being able to take risks. I've written a lot of songs. I was saying earlier, I've written over a couple hundred songs. Some people I know have written a lot more, some people a lot less. But a couple hundred's a pretty good repertoire between the instrumentals and the vocal things. Of those 200, I maybe have 30 that are worth listening to. But those other ones, every once in a while, I'll go back to those old songs that I didn't think were worth anything, and I'll be able to get something out of them after all. Or I'll be able to take an old idea and revisit it, or whatever. But you got to be able to take risks. If you don't take risks, you're not going to be. That's all. That's a huge part of being creative.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So, okay. How do you approach working with producers and engineers, and what role do they play in shaping your sound?
Well, I'm mainly self-produced, so I talk to myself a lot and argue with myself a lot. I have worked in the studio a few times, and it's been mixed results for me. And because it's mixed results and because of the cost factor involved in doing that, I've been happy enough with what I've made on my own at home. GarageBand is free when you buy a Mac, and I think I paid $100 for Band in a Box. So between those two, and another $50 for the keyboard, and $50 for a mic. So that's my total outlay. Financially for all the production that I can do at home. And fortunately, I can work at home. We have a room, on a separate floor, the family room, which I've taken over as my studio. So that's it.
Okay. And I noticed that because I spent like 4 days listening to these songs. I noticed that you make a lot of personality pieces. For the people at home, what song would you recommend that they get to know you as an artist?
My songs
Yes.
or other people's songs? My songs. Well, I see myself first and foremost as a storyteller, that kind of songwriting. People like Guy Clark and John Prine and people like that. Luckily, and a lot of these people that I really have admired for their songwriting, I've gotten to meet and talk to, which is really has helped me develop more, I think, as a songwriter. But I love to write story songs, and that's a two-edged sword. If you want radio play, your songs have to be 3:30 or under. And it's really hard to write a story song at 3:30 or under. And so I fight with myself back and forth with that a lot. I'm just going to play a song today, in fact, a brand new song that started out at 5.5 minutes, and working with Nashville Songwriters Association, I got it down to 3:30, and I think it's okay still, but I like to see a story develop in a song. So I think songs like that, the songs I mentioned, One Step Closer, The Only Thing I Wanted, and I've got some songs on my latest release, which is called I Ain't Going Nowhere. That's another one where it's a reverse play on words. I ain't going nowhere because I'm already here.
So
the songs
sounds like
are
you're quick with my song.
Yeah.
Get on out of here.
Yeah.
I ain't going nowhere. That's what I'm talking. Get on out of here.
Well, there's a lot of songs on this new release like that are story songs. There's a song on there called Midnight Rattlers, and Midnight Rattlers came about because of work. I was in Texas, in San Marcos, Texas, which is a smaller city between San Antonio and Austin. And I was just out for a run one day in the heat, and ran by a school called Goodnight Middle School, because the person's last name was Goodnight. It seemed odd to me. And their scoreboard for their football field said Goodnight Rattlers. And I said, well, there's a song. So I wrote a song about this middle school football team who personified the religion that is football in Texas. and so and it's all about just the big game that they played and some of the players in it and what have you. So a lot of my songs are like that. The instrumentals that I do, I find myself doing that if I need a break from writing the story songs or the other songs that have lyrics. Sometimes I just kind of get to a point where I don't want to write a lyric anymore.
Right.
So I'll sit down and I'll put together some instrumentals, and that's what led me to, this is my third instrumental release now, a collection that's out now called No Destination Shared. And there's a song on there, and I think it's interesting, songs that are instrumentals, one of my biggest challenges is coming up with titles for those. I have to listen to it about 100 times and decide what that song is saying to me. And there's a song on that release called Mineral County, Nevada. And Mineral County, Nevada is actually a place I've been to a couple times for work. And the cover art for the release, No Destination Shared, is actually a picture I took out the windshield. I know you're not supposed to do this. As I was driving in the middle of the Nevada desert, that just struck me because it was a beautiful rain event going on in front of me that I was headed toward. And I just thought that was a great picture. And I was driving, as a matter of fact, from Mineral County, Nevada. When I heard that song for the 100th time, I said, oh, that's what that song's about. It's about that part of Nevada, out in the middle of nowhere. And so I went from there, and then that also got me to use the cover art that I used. I always do my own cover art too.
Wow.
So yeah, nothing special, but
It comes from the heart, and that's what counts, and that's what's missing in the industry.
Right.
I agree with you. And that's really important to me, that the songs, especially my lyrical songs, are sincere. That they come from a place where you really want your listener to feel something from it. Hopefully the song that I was talking about earlier, this brand new song that I have, is that kind of song that does that. A lot of my songs that I write are not happy songs. And circle or whatever, they know that a lot of my songs are not upbeat, happy songs. They're a lot of times songs about the seedier side of life, or bad times, or breakups, or things like that. I just find those songs easier to write. Not because my life has been hellish, but it's just that's what works for me. So that's where I go with that.
Okay.
Who now? I know you talked about your mom, but who has been the most important influence to you professionally?
I think a couple of people I mentioned earlier, especially Guy Clark. Guy Clark was a songwriter, singer from Austin, Texas, and when my mom was in radio in the early '70s, there was somebody at the station that used to send home with her copies of albums they couldn't play or wouldn't play on air. And one of the things she brought home was Guy Clark's first album called Old Number One. And every song on that was gold. It was just beautiful songs. There's a song on there that was pretty popular called LA Freeway, for one thing, but there were a lot of other songs that just told stories and painted pictures. Desperado's Waiting for a Train is another famous country song that is on that album. And when I heard that told me what I had to do as far as songwriting goes. Later on, Ian Hunter intrigued me. Ian Hunter was the head of a group called Mott the Hoople, and they had a big hit called All the Young Dudes, which ironically wasn't written by him. But he put out a solo album in the '70s that I just loved the writing of on that. Once Bitten, Twice Shy, and things like that. Later on, Dire Straits' first album, when it came out, that spoke to me as well. I can't forget him. Chris Whitley, who nobody's ever heard of, was one of the great songwriters because what he wrote and how he played was just so far outside the box. It was ridiculous. Unfortunately, he passed away young, as did Guy Clark and John Prine, for that matter. And currently, I'm a big fan of a man named James McMurtry. I've seen him a few times live and had a chance to meet with him. He's a great storyteller too, and he really talks about the seedy underbelly of America, and so he's kind of a contemporary for me too. So those are my biggest influences.
Yes. So how is it that you prepare for live shows, like performing in front of people?
It really depends. I do a lot of open mics. I'm not a person who, if somebody invites me to play for money, that's great. But I love doing open mics because it gives me a chance to work with other songwriters. And especially, there's a place called Spiel's Tavern out on 22. I don't know if any of you have ever been there. If you haven't, you should go just for the experience. It's got the largest collection of cigar box guitars in the world. And because his son, Dan Spiel's son, Shane, is the self-proclaimed godfather of the cigar box guitar. He builds them. He actually has one in the Musical Instruments Museum in Phoenix, Arizona. I love playing out there, and every first Wednesday of every month they have something called Uncovered, which is strictly for songwriters doing their own material. And I love doing that. I love doing songwriter showcases. Mike Houston runs a lot of those, if any of you are familiar with him. And there are other venues like that. So those are my favorites. To prepare for them, I just usually will just take my newest things that I've written, all lyrical things. I'm doing my instrumentals out. I have kind of a Steely Dan approach to playing live. I don't. They never did either, or they never did, because I can't, mainly. But on the other hand, I do shows, and sometimes I share the stage with somebody else, another songwriter. And what we've done is we'll do 4 songs and then switch, and then he'll do 4 songs, I'll do 4 songs, go back and forth. For those shows, I'll handpick my best things, especially that go over better in bars than in a coffee house or something like that. And I kind of take a Spotify approach to this. If you ever listen to a Spotify station or something, if I put in James McMurtry, I'll hear James McMurtry song, then I'll hear 3 songs by somebody else, and then I'll hear James McMurtry again. I do kind of the opposite. I'll do 3 of my own songs and then a cover, just to keep everybody interested, and then go back and do, I'll usually do 2 of mine, 1 of somebody else's, and 1 of mine. And then, so I spend a lot of time and effort deciding those playlists for those kinds of shows. So it depends on what I'm doing.
I say, like, how do you recover from the creative process?
I don't think I ever recover from the creative part. I think the creative part helps me recover from everything else. There are a lot of stresses in the world, and there are a lot of times where things don't feel as great as they could, and I think creating helps me get around that. Just like when I was still working full time. Like I said, it was cathartic for me to write and create and produce music. And now it's just what I do. It's just fun to do. And retirement hasn't made life much less stressful. so it's still nice to be able to create. So I hope I didn't ruin your question.
Oh, no. You gave the right answer.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to visit that bar.
Oh, Spiels. Yeah. Spiels is a wonderful place.
We'll do it on the mic every now and then.
Yeah. I just did it I think last week.
Yeah, Antonio.
Yeah.
That's a great open mic.
Jim skipped this.
Yeah.
If it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to work with him.
You guys went.
When Starfire Radio was still in existence, I was on there actually.
Yeah.
Him and Megan. And of course, Mr. Russian.
Yeah, Devin.
He'll kill me for forgetting his name.
All right, so we did the arrow.
Okay, when we come back, the legendary man himself, Mr. Gregg Stone, is going to entertain us with his masterpieces of lyrical genius.
Wow. Oh, don't sell it short.